Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm so happy to be here. We'll not be singing, but I'm just thrilled to be joined by Arlan Hamilton, founder and managing director of Backstage Capital, and Amy Nelson, founder and CEO of the Riveter, for this conversation. Thank you both so much for being with us first thing from the West Coast. As Mel said, I'm Jamie Sears. I'm with UBS. I lead our Community Affairs and Corporate Responsibility team. Just really grateful to be here with the SIS community right now. A big thank you to Zeev and Mel and the whole team. Really just to give us this space to come together, to have dialogue and the conversations that we need to be having to create the world that we want to see. Um, I know both Arlen and Amy through some of the work that UBS does in the impact space in terms of leveling the playing field for underrepresented founders, accelerating the growth of companies founded by women and founders of color. Some of this has been through Project Entrepreneur, which we'll talk about a little bit. We started that program in 2015, and it's really centered around changing the status quo for female founders. But you know, as COVID-19 has really laid bare to all of us a lot of the systemic inequalities that we knew existed, disproportionately impacting communities of color and women. I really can't think of two better people to be having this conversation with as we go about together to rebuild our country in a way that is, more equitable and inclusive and anti-racist and more just. Um, I admire you both for so many reasons, and you've built some of the solutions that our world desperately needs. And so I'm excited for everyone to hear more from both of you. So let me just kick off. I know it's not just the three of us on the phone, but I just wanted to do an open check-in. There's a lot happening. There's a lot happening right now. So can we start there, Arlen and Amy? How are you doing? How are you doing right now?
I'll start. Thanks, Jamie, and everyone for having me and us. Yeah, I mean, before you would say, "How are you doing?" and everyone would say, "Okay," and you'd go to the next question. But this has been so traumatic in so many ways. Um, and so for a few weeks, I had been doing pretty well, and I think the last 4 or 5 days have really hit hard and um, kind of tested the humanness in me and in all of us, just like the ability to withstand so much. I don't know if we were meant and built to withstand all of this all at once, and the nuance of
Mm-hmm.
being all of us, I think, across this panel, of being kind of middle generation, of like having people to take care of both ways, both directions as well, and our families. And yeah, so I'm not doing well today, but I think I'll be better. You know what? That music has always healed me. So like that song actually just really it gave me 5% more battery life, which was much needed.
Oh, um, thanks, Arlen. And thanks, Jamie, for being here with us today. This week has been incredibly hard on our country and the Black community. I think as a white woman, I've been focused on what I can do and what the Riveter can do. Um, I need to do this work. I'm the mother of four young daughters and the leader of a startup. And so, everything that we're trying to focus on is work that won't end with this news cycle. Um, it's amplifying the words and needs of the Black community. Um, I mean, this feels almost impossibly hard, and so I think it's just focusing on the work that we can do.
Thank you both for being here. Um, and yeah, I mean, there are there were a number of things I think that so many of us had planned, and things have changed a lot, and things have changed a lot even in this past week as well. Um, Arlen, just starting with you, it's about damn time for a lot of things.
Yeah. Yes.
It's also the name of your book, and obviously, if we weren't, if it weren't for the pandemic, you'd be on your book tour right now. And I know so many of us were looking forward to that. Tell us a little bit about this book and who you wrote it for.
Oh, yeah. So my book is It's About Damn Time. Jamie wasn't commenting on me being late. Yeah, well, I originally wrote it for the same people that I guess it's affecting now, but in a different way. I originally wrote it to describe how I went from housing insecurity and not really knowing what was going to be next in my mid-30s to having raised several $1 million and investing in more than 100 startups led by underrepresented founders in the last 4.5 years. So it started as a business book about how I did it, because that's the number one question I'm asked when it comes to my life, and then to hopefully instill in others the understanding, the belief, and then the tools for them to do something bold and audacious in their lives that they have been waiting to do and wanting to do. And since coming out early May, I have received so much wonderful feedback about how it's touching people and affecting people, and could have never imagined it would come out in a pandemic, could have never imagined it would come out in one of the most important times in our history when it comes to race in the United States, and it's affecting people in a very different way. And I think it's for people who are underestimated. That's what the tagline is. If you've ever felt underestimated, how to turn that into your greatest advantage. And I dare say that's an understatement at this point. And I just definitely, I don't know where this is going next question, but I just want to highlight how awesome Amy is, and also Jamie as well. But Amy, how she's juggling 4 kids under 5 over there with such grace and such light and beauty, and it's just awesome.
Sorry.
I just think it's so cool. No, I think it's great, and this is why I started the fund, is to invest in mothers and invest in people, Black and brown people and LGBTQ, and to not just invest in them, but to let them know that they can do anything, and that it is all deserved, not just a Pollyanna kind of way, but it is deserved. We deserve this space.
Yes.
Absolutely. Amy is amazing. I want to ask you, Amy, a little bit about this connection to inclusivity. It's so core to what you've built with the Riveter. And I'd love if you could share with people who may not be familiar with the Riveter and kind of how it's been manifested in this amazing startup that you're building.
Yes, and I'm sorry, you're going to hear my family in the background as the children are with my husband. The Riveter is a modern union for working women. I was an attorney for 10 years before I started this company, and also very involved in politics. And I think for me, when I became a working mother, I just looked around and I said, where are working mothers in leadership? And realized that I couldn't see them. And I don't agree with that construct of the world. And I know that we're the majority of the workforce. We are the backbone of this country. And that if we share our stories and we come together, we can move women ahead in a much quicker way than the stories that say it'll take 200 years to get to pay equity, and that's for white women. It's obviously the pay inequity is much worse for women of color. And so I wanted to build a community, both in real life and online, where women could come together, share their stories, and work with allies. The Riveter, 25% of our members identify as men, and that's critically important because I think so many men want corporate America and the working world to look different for women as well. We launched an online community in February, and we have almost 40,000 members who are there sharing their stories. And inclusivity and diversity is at the core of it. You can't change anything for women unless you bring all women into it. We have to be intersectional in everything that we do. That extends with us to our hiring practices. It extends to our cap table and our investors, and the community that we're trying to create every day. It's really hard work, but we've created a home where there are discussions led by both members and experts. You've both been there, which I'm grateful for. We have articles and guides on vital information like getting funding for your small business or your venture scale business, making change and finding ways to take care of yourself and use your voice, which is hard and exhausting. But when you have a community there with you, it can happen.
I'm a member of the community, and I've been, getting a ton from it, comfort and solidarity and things through this time. So thank you so much. I'm so glad that you, got it going before we sort of all got stuck in our homes.
Auspicious timing.
I did want to. I know. I did want to ask you, what are you learning from your 40,000 members about what women are looking for in terms of work and how this is going to look both now, how it looks now and both as we move forward?
I think what we've learned very quickly is that the pandemic is impacting women more severely than it's impacting men. And in our community, our members have picked up extra responsibilities at home. They're losing their jobs more quickly. Women of color are losing their jobs more quickly than white women. And so what we're learning is that people need to find new jobs. They need to learn new skills. And then they also need to find a way to figure out how to work with the new responsibilities they've picked up and maintain their jobs. So what we did in response to that is really try to bring in more programming experts and resources to direct toward these specific issues. And also, we had, as a startup, planned to launch a paid membership in April, and we scrapped it because right now everyone needs access to the community. And so that's how we've decided to grow and build.
Well, I mean, despite everything that's happening in the world, somehow, turning back to Arlan, you've become even more productive. In addition to your book, you've got, I'm a huge fan of your First Millionaire podcast. You've got your fundraising course, obviously Backstage, but to what all the things that Amy was just talking about, what people need right now. How does this all connect? What's your big scheme that you've got going on where you're doing all these things and sharing all of really your experience, your knowledge, and your inspiration with a lot of people right now?
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, I think I think it may seem chaotic or not all connected from the outside, but it's all part of there's a method to the madness, as they say. It's always been about connecting people, and that's what I talk a lot about in the book. It's always been about representation. It's always been about inspiration. And so me creating the fund, Backstage Capital, and raising some capital for it, and then investing in more than 100 companies, even though it was a smaller amount, just a few $1 million total, which is relatively small in the grand scheme of things in VC. All of that was meant really to serve as a case study more than anything, to serve as an example more than anything, to serve as an inspiration. And so I look at it as when I feel like I'm doing the same thing when I put $50,000 behind a Black founder, as I'm doing when I speak to thousands of people on my podcast and let them, tell them their value and remind them of their value, give them information that they can use to grow the value of the assets of what the treasure trove they have of information. And yesterday I spoke in front of about 350 women, mostly women of color, in a virtual event that was a mastermind for the book, a free mastermind that I'm putting on 8 weeks, just because I want to dig deeper into the book that everyone is feeling so close to. And it was emotional because it reminded me of why I'm doing it and what I'm doing it and what the point of this is. I could stop working at Backstage tomorrow, or I could stop the podcast tomorrow. I could stop at any of these points and have left some sort of a legacy of what I want to continue to happen. And it's all towards the same goal of generational wealth for Black and brown people. And that I'm choosing to use that, or start with entrepreneurs at the earliest stages, because I think that's a really great way to start. And it's a level playing field, and we're so far from it. We're so far from it that any work that I do, whether it's investing or hoping to inspire, or it's media representation, all of it is going towards the same goal of us all getting there together. I have an idealistic view of the future, and it's a very diverse view of the future.
Absolutely. I am going to ask you just one quick thing, something I saw, I think it was yesterday. You posted something about VCs asking you what they can be doing in this moment. And you had a really clear message. It was invest in Black founders. So I don't know if there's anything more you want to add about that, but
well, there's a lot going on, yeah. Black women receive 0.2% of all venture funding, or they have in the past, or the last couple of years, 0.2%. So together we received the same amount of money that the last round of the e-scooter company Bird received in one round of funding. So about $250 million in 2019. And there was 130 billion that was deployed in venture. And so people are asking now, because it's in their face. We're stuck at home, and what you're seeing right now on the streets, the protests, everything is in their face. They're asking, what can we do? What can we do? Where can we donate? Where can we do? And I say, don't donate, or donate. But in addition to that, write checks to Black founders. You don't have to change any sort of standards, because there are Black founders out there that reach your standards and beyond. And you don't have to invest in every Black founder. You have to make the effort to put more Black founders into your deal flow. And there are many ways to do that. And if you want to learn more, you can go to backstagecapital.com and contact me, and I'll be happy to give you a list of things you can do, because it is not that difficult.
Not at all. I know we're running on time. I just wanted to offer, for a quick last thought, this Social Innovation Summit brings together the largest cross-section of leaders really committed to impact, and I love being a part of it. Executives, entrepreneurs, civic leaders. Just, I guess, a parting thought for everyone from the two of you, if you could spare just one last minute.
Okay.
Arlan, you want to go first?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, I just go from where I just was, which is Black founders and brown founders don't deserve the crumbs. And we talk about history a lot, and we say how terrible history was in this country, and how terrible when we read about it. How could we do that? And thank goodness I don't do this anymore to these people, right? If you're white, thank goodness I don't do this anymore, or they don't, my forefathers are the ones who did this. Let me tell you right now, you're part of this. You're part of this problem today. And there's a way to, in your lifetime, fix it. There's a way for, in your lifetime, not to be in a history book as someone else's regret. You can do that today. Don't give us crumbs. Treat us equally. Think of us equally. It starts with thinking of us as equals, truly, in your heart, in your mind. And then it starts with treating us equally in the boardroom, in the bank accounts, in your business, buying from us, trading with us, bartering with us. That's what this is about.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm just going to echo Arlan's words, because she speaks more powerfully than I can on this, and she's 100% right.
Yeah. Yes, we are all part of the system, and so I really appreciate both of you being here today. Just really quickly in closing, there are some things, I think, just in terms of engagement that I just wanted to mention. We are working with the Riveter on a Founded by series that Arlan joined us for just a week or two ago, and I know that people can still listen to that. It's on Thursdays at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, and we're doing it through the end of June. We got Hello Alice. UBS is partnering with Hello Alice and giving $10,000 emergency grants to women of color who have businesses, and that can be found on Hello Alice's site. And then finally, we are hosting a Project Entrepreneur Capital Access Summit for female founders. It's June 16th, 17th. We're doing it with our partner FFC, and if you all know female founders who would be interested in that, please look out for that on projectentrepreneur.org. But thank you again for this time, and please take care of one another out there.
Thank you.
Both.